The stars above Earth twinkled like distant lanterns in the vast black sea of space. Most humans saw them as beautiful points of light, reminders of the mysteries of the universe. But somewhere far away, beyond the nearest star cluster, they were more than beauty. They were a sign of something dangerous. The Galactic Union, a council of thousands of advanced alien civilizations, had explored millions of worlds. They studied civilizations for centuries, rating them on technology, intelligence, and social stability. And then came Earth. To the aliens, Earth was unusual. Its people were unpredictable. They survived deserts that could fry the skin, oceans that could drown the strongest swimmer, storms that destroyed entire cities, and winters that froze the unprepared to death. They rebuilt, adapted, and thrived in ways that were astonishing to alien observers. The reports were cautious at first. Potentially dangerous but manageable, one scholar had written. Another had disagreed. No, these humans are more than that. They are resilient to a degree we cannot measure. Their unpredictability is a risk. Soon, the words potential threats began to spread through alien channels. While the humans went about their lives unaware, leaders in distant galaxies debated whether Earth should be watched, warned, or even contained. On Earth, things continued quietly. The world did not yet know that eyes were upon them. In the United States, scientists at the American Space Agency were buzzing with excitement. They had detected strange signals coming from deep space, patterns too organized to be natural. A team was assembled for an exploratory mission. Commander Sarah Reed, a woman known for her calmness under pressure and keen intelligence, led the expedition. Alongside her were engineers, pilots, scientists, and linguists. Together, they represented humanity's best minds. Commander Reed had grown up in the mountains of Colorado, hiking trails and facing storms head-on. She had learned early that patience, observation, and courage could overcome almost any challenge. That experience would soon become crucial. The team's ship, the Starfinder, was sleek and equipped with experimental technology. As it moved through space, Earth's blue and green sphere became smaller and smaller. Each member of the team stared at the stars, feeling a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation. "Commander," said Lieutenant Amir, the ship's communications officer, "our scanners are picking up a small object ahead. It's moving oddly, almost like it's trying to hide." Reed squinted at the data. "Could be a natural asteroid," she said cautiously. "Or not. Prepare for a visual scan." The Starfinder's cameras adjusted, revealing a small metallic craft unlike anything seen on Earth. It was sleek, dark, and moving erratically, almost as if it were frightened. The alien ship appeared to detect the Starfinder as well. Suddenly it shot away, disappearing into the void. "Did it just run?" one of the scientists whispered. Reed shook her head. "I don't think it's running from danger. I think it's running from us. And that means it knows we're here." Word of this sighting spread quickly among the Galactic Union observers. "Humans have seen us. They must be hunters," a council member reported to others. Fear rippled through alien networks. Humans were not just survivors. They were active, aware, and capable of interaction. Back on the Starfinder, the crew was unaware of the panic they had caused. Commander Reed gathered her team in the observation room. "This is our first contact," she said. "We don't know if it's peaceful or if it's dangerous. But we do know one thing. Humanity has a chance to show what we are. We are explorers. We are scientists. And we are not here to harm anyone." Her words were steady, and the team nodded. They had trained for this, but no training could fully prepare them for the reality of meeting another intelligent species. Days passed as the Starfinder approached the edge of the solar system. The signals continued, strange patterns pulsing in the void, sometimes repeating, sometimes silent. It was clear they were being watched, but by whom or why remained unknown. One night, Reed sat alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. She thought of Earth, of mountains and oceans and deserts she had climbed and crossed. Humans thrived in extreme conditions. Perhaps the aliens were seeing what humans often saw in themselves, a relentless drive to survive, adapt, and protect. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. A new object appeared on the scanners. This one was larger, more sophisticated. It was not fleeing. It moved with precision, almost like it was studying the Starfinder. Analysis? Reed asked. Lieutenant Amir studied the readings. It's definitely intelligent. Technology is far beyond ours. Shields, propulsion, even communication methods. I can't decode it. Reed nodded. Then we make the first step. Open a channel. The screen flickered, showing shifting lights, colors, and patterns. The aliens' attempt at communication was alien in the truest sense. No words, no symbols, just pulses of light and energy. The team worked tirelessly, trying to understand the message. Hours later, they discovered a pattern. It was a warning. The aliens were cautious, fearful. Do not approach, the signal seemed to say. You are dangerous. Reed leaned back in her chair. Dangerous? They think we're dangerous? Her science officer, Dr. Lin, frowned. Perhaps they see humans' history. Conflict, war, rapid development, unpredictability. Maybe they fear what we might do if provoked. Reed's eyes narrowed. Then it is up to us to prove them wrong. We survive. We explore. We understand. And maybe we can teach them that humans are not threats in the way they think. As the Starfinder moved closer to the outer rim of the solar system, the crew prepared for another encounter. This time, the alien ship did not flee. It held its position, as if watching, testing, deciding. The humans, in turn, approached cautiously, signaling peace. In the Galactic Union, discussions grew tense. These humans are reckless, said one counselor. They approach without fear, without hesitation. They could destroy worlds without meaning to. Another voice disagreed. Or, they are brave, resourceful, and clever. Perhaps this is why they survive against all odds. Perhaps they are not a threat, but something more. Remarkable. Back on the Starfinder, the crew had their first full interaction. The alien ship emitted a pattern that the human team had learned to interpret as curiosity. It did not attack. It did not flee. It observed. Commander Reed allowed herself a small smile. One step at a time, she said softly. One step at a time. For the first time, humans and aliens had truly noticed each other, not as conquerors or subjects, but as intelligent beings trying to understand. The encounter ended without violence, but the consequences were already spreading across the galaxy. Reports began to circulate in alien networks. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but they were also clever, compassionate, and courageous. They were willing to take risks to explore and understand. And perhaps most importantly, they did not strike first. On Earth, life continued as normal. No one noticed the ripples in the universe caused by a single human ship at the edge of the solar system, but somewhere among the stars, eyes watched humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. Commander Reed's team returned to Earth months later. They brought data, samples, and stories. But more than anything, they brought a new reputation for humanity. A reputation that would grow in the galaxy as the years passed, slowly turning fear into respect. And so, the first chapter of humanity's interstellar story closed. Humans were seen as threats, yes, but in truth, they were something else entirely. They were explorers, survivors, and the beginning of a species that would one day rise among the stars. The universe had taken note. And for the first time, humans had made contact, not with weapons, not with conquest, but with courage, intelligence, and heart. The hum of the Starfinder's engines filled the cabin as it drifted through the endless black of space. Commander Sarah Reed sat in the captain's chair, her eyes fixed on the shifting stars outside. Months had passed since their first contact with the alien scout craft. The encounter had not been violent, but the memory of the alien's cautious glare remained vivid in her mind. Somewhere out there, countless civilizations were now aware of humanity. Many feared them, and a few were curious. Back on Earth, the news of the Starfinder's journey had spread among scientists and government leaders. Though much of the information was classified, humanity did not yet fully understand how closely they were being watched. Reed and her crew knew only that every action, every signal, every decision could ripple through alien networks in ways humans could never anticipate. The crew gathered for their daily briefing. Lieutenant Amir, the communications officer, spoke first. "Commander, I've decoded partial transmissions from the scout craft. They're sending information back to their leaders. The patterns suggest confusion. They expected humans to be reckless hunters, and instead, we acted cautiously, respectfully. It is confusing for them." Dr. Lin, the ship's science officer, nodded. "Their species relies heavily on observing behavior. We did not attack, we did not threaten, and yet we did not retreat. We acted like problem solvers. That is very different from what they expected." Reed smiled faintly. "That is exactly what I wanted. Humans are not the galaxy's wild card. We are explorers. We are learners. And sometimes, we are helpers. That is what they need to see." Their next mission brought the Starfinder to the edge of the Halanth system, a cluster of planets known for dense asteroid belts and treacherous gravity wells. It was here that they encountered their first real opportunity to demonstrate humanity's courage and ingenuity. A small alien freighter had been damaged by an asteroid storm. The ship's hull was cracked, and its crew was trapped inside. The Starfinder's scanners detected life signs fading fast. Commander Reed quickly gathered her team. "This is our chance," she said firmly. "We do not know what species these aliens are, but they are in danger. Our duty is clear. We save them." The Starfinder carefully approached the freighter. Debris drifted around it, making navigation difficult. Lieutenant Amir piloted the ship with precision, threading through the asteroid field as Dr. Lin monitored structural stability. "Hull integrity is at 50%, Lin reported. "If we get too close, the freighter could break apart." Reed took a deep breath. "Prepare the docking protocols. We are going in." For hours, the Starfinder's crew worked tirelessly. Using robotic arms, magnetic tethers, and careful maneuvering, they attached stabilizers to the damaged freighter. They opened airlocks and sent in rescue teams. The aliens inside were terrified, unfamiliar with human appearance and technology. But Reed's calm voice and careful instructions reassured them. When the last alien crew member was safely aboard the Starfinder, a quiet relief spread through the cabin. The rescued aliens were bewildered by the humans' actions. They had expected humans to be aggressive, perhaps to loot or destroy. Instead, they had found patience, intelligence, and compassion. As the Starfinder escorted the freighter to a nearby space station, the humans noticed subtle changes in the aliens' communications. They were cautious, yes, but now there was curiosity. Questions began to come. Who were these humans? Why did they risk themselves for others? What kind of species acted like this? Word of the rescue spread quickly across alien networks. Within weeks, humans were being discussed not just as unpredictable, but as something different, something extraordinary. The term noble hunters began appearing in alien reports. They were called hunters, not for violence, but for their ability to act decisively and protect others in dangerous situations. Back on the Starfinder, the crew gathered in the observation room, staring at the stars. "It's strange," Lieutenant Amir said. "We were only doing what any human would do, but they see it as remarkable." Reed nodded. "Perhaps that is the point. Humans are not just clever or strong. We combine strength with empathy. That combination is rare in the galaxy." Their reputation continued to grow as the Starfinder explored further. They visited planets where intelligent species had long histories of conflict. On one world, the humans intervened when a volcanic eruption threatened a small alien settlement. They coordinated evacuation efforts, using Starfinder drones and human ingenuity to save hundreds of lives. On another planet, they assisted in repairing a communication network damaged by a cosmic storm. They worked with the local species, teaching them new methods while respecting their traditions. The aliens were amazed by humanity's balance of curiosity, caution, and courage. Through each encounter, humanity's image spread across the stars. Fear began to shift toward respect. Alien scholars debated, were humans dangerous? Yes. Were humans reckless? Sometimes. But they were also capable of remarkable acts of intelligence, courage, and morality. These qualities made them unpredictable, but in ways that inspired awe rather than dread. Not all reactions were positive. A few factions still saw humans as a threat, dangerous and powerful, capable of upsetting the balance of power. But these warnings were now tempered by accounts of humans saving lives, showing honor, and acting with restraint. On Earth, news of the Starfinder's missions finally reached the public. People marveled at the idea that humans were being noticed across the galaxy. Children drew pictures of starships and aliens, dreaming of the day they might join such missions. Scientists prepared new technology to match the demands of interstellar travel. Governments began discussions about humanity's place in the larger universe. Commander Reed and her team were hailed as pioneers, though Reed herself remained humble. "We are explorers, not conquerors," she said in an interview broadcast worldwide. "Our strength lies in learning, in understanding, and in helping. That is how humanity will survive and thrive among the stars." The Starfinder returned to Earth after months in deep space. The crew was exhausted but proud. They had witnessed fear, curiosity, and respect in the eyes of countless species. They had shown that humans were not merely survivors. They were capable of extraordinary courage and intelligence. At the Galactic Union, discussions continued. Some leaders still feared humanity, worried about their adaptability, their unpredictability, and their potential to rise quickly in influence. Others advocated for observation, careful study, and even cooperation. A consensus slowly emerged. Humans were a species that demanded attention, not through aggression, but through action. The Starfinder's crew celebrated quietly on Earth. They had set a precedent, a standard of human behavior that would echo through space. And for the first time, humanity began to understand that they were more than just inhabitants of a small blue planet. They were participants in a much larger story. As Commander Reed looked out at the night sky, she thought of the alien scout craft that had first fled at their approach. How little it understood, and yet how much it had begun to learn. Humans were no longer simply observed. They were studied, respected, and slowly, perhaps reluctantly, admired. "This is only the beginning," Reed said softly to herself. "Humanity is not just surviving. Humanity is rising." The reputation of humans, and especially the Americans who led the first missions, grew across alien networks. Stories of courage, ingenuity, and compassion spread from one star system to another. Across the galaxy, whispers began. "These humans are different. These humans are remarkable." The Starfinder and its crew were remembered not only as explorers, but as symbols of what humanity could achieve. They were proof that intelligence, bravery, and compassion could coexist, even in the face of unknown dangers. And somewhere in the galaxy, the first seeds of trust and cooperation between humans and aliens were being planted. The journey was far from over. New systems awaited, new species to encounter, new challenges to face. But humanity had made its mark. They had begun to rewrite the galaxy's understanding of them. Not as reckless hunters, but as noble hunters, capable of rising to meet any challenge with courage, wisdom, and heart. And for the first time in history, humans understood something essential about themselves. Survival was only the beginning. True greatness lay in using strength wisely, protecting others, and embracing the unknown with courage. The stars above Earth no longer seemed distant or unreachable. They were invitations, doors waiting to be opened. And Commander Reed knew that humanity would step through them, not recklessly, not blindly, but with the intelligence, bravery, and compassion that had always defined them. The first wave of humans had proven themselves. And the galaxy was taking note. The Starfinder floated silently among the stars, its hull gleaming under distant suns. Months had passed since humanity began gaining attention across alien networks. Stories of humans rescuing alien crews, repairing damaged stations, and navigating impossible dangers had spread far and wide. Across countless star systems, the Americans aboard the Starfinder were becoming legends. But not all beings in the galaxy were impressed. Among the shadows of space, a faction known as the Zarthun watched closely. Unlike most species, the Zarthun believed in strength above all else. Power, control, and domination were their only measures of worth. To them, humans were a problem, an unpredictable species growing in influence far too quickly. The humans are dangerous, the Zarthun commander Ilrek said to his council. His voice was low but firm, vibrating through the communication chamber. They combine courage with intelligence. They act decisively. If left unchecked, they will become the apex hunters of the galaxy, and no one will control them. Another Zarthun council member hissed, "We cannot allow them to rise. Prepare a containment strategy. Show them the consequences of overreaching." Back on the Starfinder, Commander Sarah Reed and her team were unaware of the Zarthun's plans. They had just received a routine communication from the Galactic Union. A science vessel had gone missing in the Astera corridor, a dangerous route used for trade between systems. The Union requested the Starfinder to investigate. "This could be routine," Reed said as she reviewed the reports. "Asteroid storms, gravitational anomalies. Maybe the vessel encountered natural hazards?" Lieutenant Amir frowned. "Commander, sensors show unusual energy signatures in the corridor. They don't match known celestial phenomena." Dr. Lin analyzed the data. "These readings, they resemble advanced containment technology, something designed to trap a ship without destroying it. I've never seen anything like this." Reed's eyes narrowed. "Then we must assume the worst. Prepare for a rescue mission. We're not leaving anyone behind." The Starfinder approached the Astera corridor with caution. Massive asteroids drifted slowly, forming dangerous fields between planets. Unstable energy pulses radiated across the corridor, interfering with sensors. The missing vessel appeared faintly on the scanners, surrounded by a shimmering, almost invisible net. "Gravity field or energy trap?" Amir asked, studying the readings. Dr. Lin shook her head. "Neither. It's more advanced than anything I've seen. This is a containment net designed to hold a ship in place indefinitely." Reed's jaw tightened. "We're going in. Plot a path that avoids destabilizing the net. Every movement must be precise." As the Starfinder moved closer, the trap activated defensive measures. Energy tendrils lashed out, attempting to push the ship away. Reed's team worked with precision, adjusting shields and thrusters, countering each attempt. "Hull integrity at 80%, Amir reported, sweat on his brow. "One wrong move and we could be trapped ourselves." Reed's hands flew over the controls. "Focus, keep steady, trust your training. We do this together." Hours passed as they carefully navigated the trap. Using magnetic grapples and carefully timed propulsion bursts, they reached the missing vessel. The crew inside was alive but weak, their systems barely functional. The Starfinder extended a rescue tether, slowly pulling the vessel free from the net. The Zarthun observed silently from a distance. Their plan had been simple: trap the humans along with the Union ship, demonstrating power and sending a warning. But humans were different. They adapted, they analyzed, and they overcame. Finally, the missing vessel was free. The Starfinder escorted it to safety, avoiding detection as much as possible. The rescued crew was astonished by the humans' actions. "We expected death, and instead, we found courage," one alien whispered. Reed smiled softly. "We don't fight without reason. We don't conquer for pleasure. We protect. That is the way of humans." Even as the humans celebrated their success, the Zarthun commanders seethed. "They are more dangerous than we imagined," Ilrek growled. "If they can defeat our traps without a single loss, what else can they do?" Meanwhile, across the Galactic Union, other species began noticing a pattern. Humans were not aggressive by nature, but they were capable of extraordinary tactics when faced with danger. They were resourceful, brave, and incredibly adaptive. Some species began to reconsider their warnings, moving from fear to cautious admiration. Back on the Starfinder, Reed reviewed the mission logs. "We have shown that humans are capable, but we must remember, not everyone in the galaxy is friendly. Some will see our abilities as threats." Dr. Lin nodded. The Zarthun are just one example. They are not alone. Other factions may feel similarly. We must be prepared. Reed gazed out at the stars. Then we will be ready. Not for conquest, not for aggression, but for defense. And if we must, for protection of our people, our allies, and life itself. The days that followed were tense. The Starfinder continued its mission, mapping unexplored sectors and assisting colonies in need. Every successful rescue, every careful navigation through hazards further enhanced humanity's reputation. Across alien networks, humans were being talked about not as reckless brutes, but as a species of problem solvers, capable of rising to any challenge. On one remote planet, the Starfinder assisted in evacuating a small colony threatened by volcanic eruptions. Humans worked alongside alien rescue teams, coordinating evacuations and using drones to lift civilians from danger. The aliens were amazed at the efficiency, the calm under pressure, and the ingenuity humans displayed. Your species? It's unlike anything we have ever seen, one alien official said to Commander Reed. You do not dominate. You do not attack first. You act wisely. That is rare, Reed smiled. We survive, yes, but survival is only part of it. We act to help others whenever we can. That is what defines us. As humanity's reputation spread, the Zarthun became more aggressive. They launched covert attacks on trade routes, hoping to intercept humans and slow their rise. Each time, the Starfinder responded with careful precision, outmaneuvering their traps and protecting others in the process. These confrontations were not violent in the traditional sense. Humans did not strike to destroy. They acted to neutralize threats, rescue those in danger, and maintain stability. Each victory increased their legend. Across the galaxy, the term apex hunters began to appear, not as predators but as guardians capable of extraordinary feats. Back on Earth, news of these exploits reached scientists and engineers working on interstellar projects. Young people dreamed of joining missions, inspired by stories of courage and intelligence. The Starfinder crew became role models, symbols of what humanity could achieve when combining skill, bravery, and empathy. Reed reflected on their journey. We are rising, yes, she said quietly. Not through fear or domination, but through action, intelligence, and heart. And that is what makes us human. Despite the growing admiration, Reed knew the threat of the Zarthun and similar factions would never fully disappear. Some in the galaxy would always fear humans, misinterpret their capabilities, or attempt to challenge them. But she also knew this. Humans had already proven that they could meet any challenge, learn from it, and use it to grow stronger without losing their principles. One evening, as the Starfinder passed near a distant nebula, the crew gathered on the observation deck. The colorful clouds of gas and dust stretched for light years, a reminder of how vast and mysterious the universe truly was. This is only the beginning, Reed said. Every species we meet, every system we explore, every challenge we face, it is all part of humanity's story, and we will rise to meet it, not for conquest, not for glory, but for understanding, protection, and the future of all life in the galaxy. The stars shimmered as if agreeing. Humanity's legend was growing. Every rescue, every careful strategy, every act of courage spread like whispers across star systems. They were no longer just survivors of Earth. They were rising as the galaxy's apex hunters, capable of facing threats, protecting others, and earning respect across civilizations. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, the Zarthun watched, learning a difficult lesson. Humans were not just unpredictable, they were extraordinary. For the first time in history, the galaxy realized that human strength was more than physical, more than clever tactics. It was intelligence combined with morality, courage paired with empathy, and the willingness to rise to any challenge without abandoning their humanity. The Starfinder continued its journey. New sectors awaited, new species to meet, and new dangers to face. But humanity had proven that they could rise to any occasion, earning respect, admiration, and a growing legend that would echo across the stars. And as Commander Reed gazed into the endless blackness dotted with shining suns, she knew one thing with certainty. Humans were no longer just part of the galaxy. They were becoming a force that even the most powerful factions could not ignore. The Galactic Union had convened an emergency summit. Representatives from hundreds of civilizations filled the massive chamber, a place of light, energy, and careful observation. Each species had its own way of communicating, from telepathy to vibrations in the air, but all eyes and sensors were on the humans who had arrived aboard the Starfinder. Commander Sarah Reed led the delegation. She walked through the chamber with steady steps, her posture calm and confident. Around her, the whispers of other species swirled, some fearful, some curious, some admiring. Every eye in the room had already heard stories of humanity's courage, intelligence, and moral strength. Now it was time to see it in action. The summit had one pressing issue: the Zarthun, the aggressive faction that had tried to trap the Starfinder and others in the Astera corridor. They now demanded that humans leave all alien territories permanently, or face what they called a show of strength. Their representatives sat across the room, radiating tension and threat. Reed's translator devices captured their message. It was clear, precise, and chilling. Humans were to withdraw immediately or face consequences. The chamber erupted into debate. Some species supported the Zarthun, seeing humans as too unpredictable, too clever, and too dangerous. Others argued for restraint, saying that humanity had proven its value by helping others and acting with intelligence and compassion. Reed raised her hand. The room fell silent. "We do not seek conflict," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We have never attacked, never destroyed, and never taken what did not belong to us. Our strength is not for domination. It is for protection, for cooperation, for understanding. That is what humans bring to the galaxy." Her words drew murmurs across the chamber. Some aliens leaned forward, intrigued. Others, especially the Zarthun, remained rigid, unconvinced. Suddenly, the Zarthun representative activated hidden drones stationed around the summit. The massive hall shivered as energy shields hummed and alarms blared. Panic spread among the delegates. These were not weapons meant to kill instantly, but they could trap, immobilize, and intimidate. Reed's eyes narrowed. "Everyone, stay calm. We will handle this." She turned to her crew, Lieutenant Amir, Dr. Lin, and the others. "Follow the plan. Precision, teamwork, and caution. We protect the delegates first, then neutralize the threat. Let's move." The humans acted swiftly. Using a combination of human ingenuity and technology, they navigated the hall. Small drones were deployed to intercept the Zarthun's machines. Shields were reinforced, and precise energy pulses disabled key mechanisms without harming anyone nearby. Delegates from other species watched in awe. Humans were not panicking. They were assessing, calculating, and acting, turning what could have been chaos into order. Amir maneuvered the Starfinder remotely through the upper observation deck, coordinating countermeasures. "Drones neutralized, all delegates secure," he reported. Dr. Lin added, "Energy nets deactivated, Zarthun devices are offline, the hall is stable." Reed exhaled, her voice calm. "Good work, everyone. Now we show them why humans are trusted across the stars." She approached the Zarthun representatives directly, standing tall and unwavering. "Your attempt to intimidate only shows what humans have always known. Fear is not a measure of strength. Courage, intelligence, and responsibility are. We act to protect, not to destroy. You may fear us, but the galaxy is watching, and it will recognize what is right." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, other delegates began to nod. Some sent signals of support, others moved to stand with the humans. The Zarthun, seeing themselves outmaneuvered not by weapons but by strategy, courage, and principle, hesitated. It was a turning point. The Galactic Union realized something crucial. Humans were capable of defending themselves and others, but they did so with morality and intelligence. Their strength was not raw aggression. It was controlled, disciplined, and guided by conscience. In the days that followed, the summit issued a formal declaration. Humans, especially those who had served on the Starfinder missions, were officially recognized as galactic apex hunters. The title was not about predation, violence, or dominance. It was about being guardians, capable of responding to crises, navigating danger, and protecting life across the galaxy. Reed's team became symbols of hope. Across alien systems, broadcasts shared their actions, rescuing trapped crews, neutralizing threats without unnecessary harm, navigating impossible hazards, and standing up to intimidation. The story of humans spread like a ripple through space, inspiring other species to act with courage and morality. Back on the Starfinder, Reed reflected on the journey. "It wasn't easy," she said softly to her crew. "Every mission, every choice, every risk, it all led to this. Humanity is not just surviving out there, we are defining what it means to be capable, moral, and courageous." Amir smiled. "We did more than survive. We proved that humans can rise to any challenge and that our actions have meaning beyond ourselves." Dr. Lin added, "And we've changed the way the galaxy sees us. Fear has been replaced with respect. That is a rare achievement." Even as humans celebrated, Reed knew the galaxy would continue to test them. There would be new threats, new challenges, and species who misunderstood or underestimated humanity. But she was confident. Humans had shown that they could face danger with intelligence, strategy, and heart. They could navigate the unknown without losing their principles. Outside the Starfinder, stars stretched endlessly, reminding them of the vastness of space and the possibilities it held. Reed gazed at the horizon of lights, thinking of Earth, of the humans who had stayed behind to continue research, of the young explorers dreaming of following in their footsteps. Humanity had begun to rise among the stars, not through fear, but through action. Weeks later, the Starfinder returned to Earth with official recognition from the Galactic Union. Ceremonies were held, speeches made, and awards given. Children looked up at the night sky, dreaming of adventure. Scientists and engineers prepared new missions, inspired by the examples set by Reed and her crew. Reed stood on the observation deck, looking out at Earth from orbit. The blue and green planet seemed small and fragile, yet it was home to a species capable of shaping the galaxy. "We are just beginning," she said. "There is so much to explore, so much to protect, so much to learn. Humanity is rising, and this is only the start." The Starfinder's crew had proven that humans were not threats in the way many had feared. They were not reckless hunters, but guardians. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and morality could combine to make a species truly remarkable. Across the galaxy, whispers became recognition. Humans were apex hunters not for destruction, but for the ability to rise to any challenge, defend life, and act with wisdom. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. True strength is not measured by fear alone, but by courage, compassion, and the ability to protect others. Commander Reed and her team knew the journey was far from over. Many species still held fear or doubt, and new dangers waited in unexplored sectors. But humanity had demonstrated that they could face the unknown with clarity and courage. They had earned their place among the stars. As the Starfinder sailed through the cosmos, the crew felt a quiet pride. They had faced the unknown, navigated dangers, and proven their worth. Humanity's reputation had grown, and their story had become part of the galaxy's history. The Galactic Union, once wary, now saw humans as leaders in courage and strategy. Even former critics began to send observers, wishing to learn from humans and understand how a species could combine intelligence, bravery, and morality so seamlessly. In the quiet of the observation deck, Reed whispered to herself, "We are no longer just humans on Earth. We are humans among the stars. And the galaxy will never forget it." And as the Starfinder moved forward, carrying the legacy of humanity across light years of space, the universe seemed to respond. Stars twinkled like eyes watching, distant worlds hummed with curiosity, and a new era had begun. Humanity had risen, not through aggression, not through fear, but through courage, intellect, and the enduring heart of a species capable of greatness. The story of humans, the Starfinder's crew, Americans leading the way, was no longer just a tale of survival. It was a story of hope, respect, and the rise of a species that had earned its place as the galaxy's apex hunters. And somewhere, far across the stars, even the Zarthun began to reconsider their judgment. Humans were not to be feared as wild predators. They were to be respected as guardians, formidable, clever, and morally unshakable. The journey of humanity had just begun. The galaxy watched, the stars waited, and humans, through courage, intelligence, and heart, continued to rise.